So, expectedly, a demand for a right of reply after that fiery appearance on this program earlier this week. But the man they call the ruling APC party's chief irritant and Nigeria's unofficial one-man oversight mission, Senator Ali Ndume. Among other things, Senator Ndume accused President Tinubu of gross infractions on the federal character provisions of the Nigerian constitution, alleging that more than 70% of the president's appointments come from just one region, the Southwest. Well, the Federal Character Commission, which is the agency responsible for implementing and enforcing the federal character principle, isn't having it, and they've asked for their right of reply on Arise Prime Time. And so, in the best interests of balanced journalism, we're granting their request for a rebuttal. But first, let's take a brief listen to some of what Senator Ndume had to say.
When you look at it vis-a-vis the appointments made so far, and they are political appointments, if you are appointments that are professional, so to say, like you can't appoint somebody who is not a soldier to become the chief of army staff, or you can't appoint somebody that is not a police to be the IG of police. And you can't appoint such persons once they don't get to, they are not qualified. But then, when you come to look at political appointments, the Constitution is very clear. And it's because to avoid such infractions that the Constitution Section 14.3 clearly states that appointments, especially political appointments, should reflect the federal character. And that is not the case here. And all I'm saying is to call the attention of Mr. President to such infractions so that it can be corrected. Otherwise, these things can boomerang at a certain period of time. It's not. And I know, as you rightly said, people look at me as somebody that is critical of the government. I have the right to do that in the first place. And in fact, that's why I'm in the National Assembly in the first place. Collectively, we are supposed to oversight the acts of Mr. President and point out some of these irregularities. Absolutely. That is what we swore to do. It's not personal. I think I have better personal relationship with most of these people that are talking about Tinubu. And I can say in the North, if you count, not up to 5 people that have close relationship with Mr. President, Ndume is one of them. But that does not stop me from speaking the truth and have obligation to do that, especially when all of us know that at the end of it all, each one of us will stand before God, and God will ask him to account for what he is responsible for. You understand? And that's why I'm saying this. And besides, we are all in this government. What will we tell our people? When you have these figures out, it's already viral, it's already in circulation. But you know what? From now, after this interview, those attack dogs or MAGA dogs will start attacking Ndume, not the message. And that's why we always get it right. It is not about Ndume or me being a senator. As a Nigerian, I have the right to voice out all these things. Not only that, I have the right to even protest. I have the right. That is guaranteed by the Constitution.
And that is, of course, Senator Ali Ndume, who appeared on this program previously. Well, for a right of reply, I'm joined now in the studio by the Commissioner representing Lagos in the Federal Character Commission, Abdul Wasiu Bawa-Allah. Good to see you. Thank you very much indeed for coming in. Good to see you, Charles. And good evening, Nigerians. So you got your right of reply. Fire away. What have you got to say?
Okay, well, I mean, with all due respect to Senator Ali Ndume, he stated his right as a citizen, as a senator, and of course as a concerned person for the party and for Mr. President, that is pointing out what in his view appears to be a lopsided appointment. The granum, which is the constitution part that he referred to, Federal Character Commission Act, Section 14, subsection 3, to give right to that section of the Constitution, Federal Character Commission was established, and an Establishment Act was passed by National Assembly. In that act, it gives various responsibility and powers to Federal Character that it can make its own law that will aid it in implementing this very important act. And the sole goal is to make sure that we have a united Nigeria, that we have a sense of belonging from those in Taraba, those in Lagos, those in Edo, that everybody have a sense of belonging. And how do we do that? Federal Character Commission has its membership. Every state of the Federation is represented at Federal Character.
Yeah, but you're not addressing the point that he made. I mean, you're giving us the background
yes.
to the federal. We haven't got all night. You're
Now,
giving us
yes.
the thing. We need you to address the point that he made.
The point that he made is that he's looking at this appointment in just a locus, as opposed to a total overall appointment. Now,
you can't isolate the appointments that are made by the president.
No,
I mean, those are significant national appointments.
Most definitely. Now, where I'm getting to is that if there's an imbalance, there are tools by which you correct those imbalances. And the previous administration and appointments that were made before President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came in were imbalanced to one side of
the previous government?
The previous government.
Of Buhari.
Of Buhari.
Right.
Was skewed. And what the president has appeared to do is to balance it, which is part of what his responsibility is. That is ensuring equity, justice. And now, I have brought with me what we, myself and some of my colleagues, the analysis of the total appointment that is done to date. And if you permit me, I'll read the percentage by the zones. Now, North Central, 137.21% of the total appointment that has been made as of March. Northeast, 91 at 14%. Northwest, 134 at 20%. Southeast, 11. South-South, 12. Southwest, 22. Total of 100%. 55% of all of these appointments are in the North.
Right, but based on what you just read
Yes.
out, does that seem balanced to you? Is that a federal character representation?
Yes, well, it is still skewed to the North by 55%. Now, what this does as a guide for Mr. President is to now look, my future appointments that I'm going to be making is for me to now see, how do I balance this? Now, so if by this number, which really total now, the North has more. Now, with this number, Southeast has the lowest percentage at 11. Future appointments, as in the employment too, are now favored to the areas.
Well, let me ask you this, because you obviously done quite a bit of your homework there. When you talk about appointments by the president, you know that people are very sensitive to the more visible appointments. Not, I mean, if you aggregate every appointment, for example, in this studio, I mean, you have floor managers, you have producers, you have, the pecking order is not quite the same. So you may say that if you go into sort of the Arise television newsroom, you're going to find this, that, or the other thing across the geographic spread of Nigeria. But if you start picking out the choice positions, you may well find that a big concern, and that's what he was talking about.
Well,
he suggested, let me just make the point. He suggested that more than 70% of those appointments by the president are from the Southwest region, and he brought documents to support that fact or that allegation, and that those appointments were basically skewed in violation of the principle of the federal character.
Now, I'm not privy to the document that he presented,
right.
so I cannot speak to it. But I've done a small selection of appointments, about 41 of them, that you can say, okay, premium, right? And my summary shows that under the previous administration, North had 36, South had 5. Under this president, North has 18, South has 23.
Yeah,
and those
yeah, you're saying
sample of those.
That's a broad generalization.
Yes.
When you've got South, Southeast, and Southwest.
Some of those examples are the SGF, for instance, the Attorney General of the Federation. You can talk about the DSS, which has now changed from North to South. You can talk about the Fire Service, which is not North. Road safety. But you see, Charles, the point here is that these total appointments, whether minister, DG, they all have the effect. And the document I brought here has them sector by sector. Agriculture has the spread by region and by the zones. The same thing goes for health, education, all the sectors. And what you have here is, if you will see, it has the spread by the zones. Now, in the time past, and if we take a closer look at the implementation of this act, it is for balance across.
Yeah, well, let me just give you an example of what he brought in, because I've got it in front of me. Let's just take one section of what is an important part of the government functions of government, and that's the economy. Looking at the economic configuration: petroleum, southwest; finance, southwest; CBN, southwest; stock exchange, southwest; customs, southwest; Federal Inland Revenue Service, southwest; PENCOM, southwest; NIMASA, southwest; Nigerian Railway Corporation, southwest; NSTIF, southwest; NNPCL, southwest; Accountant General, southwest; Bureau of Public Enterprises, southwest; Sovereign Wealth Fund, southwest; NIPOST, southwest; Federal Airports Authority, southwest. That's just one section, which is the economy. I mean, what I would need to understand from you is that there are subsets. Within that subset of the economy, do you not think that it also ought to, I'm just giving you one example, I haven't gone to other places, that it ought to also reflect that federal character principle?
Well, again, are we taking it in a locus? Or
I'm asking you a straightforward question. I'm saying that you must look at it in both microcosm and macrocosm.
Yes, indeed. And let me go to the area of finance that he mentioned.
Well, the economy.
The economy.
It's not just finance.
No, it's it is grouped together. Now, truly, as it is today, Southwest is at advantage in finance, economy, and trade.
Right.
At 39%. Now, when you look at the North and South, it is South 59, North 41. Now, zone by zone, you have 15% in North Central, Northeast 10%, 16% in the Northwest.
Right. Well,
where were we before this was done?
Well, I don't. I mean,
and on the NNPC, Ojulari is from North Central.
Yeah, but
it's not Southwest. So there are some of these. There's some of this. Yes, there's some of this. And when the chairman of the NNPC board, who was from Southwest, is being asked to go, somebody from Northeast replaced him.
North Central, you mean?
Northeast.
Northeast, that's for the board.
That's for the board. Replaced him.
Well, let me ask you this, because we're running out of time, and I think you're doing a very good presentation here. So
thank you.
But we have to try and get to the meat and potatoes of it. I mean, do you, at the Federal Character Commission, question the president's appointments? I mean, do you have the guts which means that, I'm wondering whether he's pretty much got carte blanche to appoint whoever he wants, irrespective of whether it violates the federal character constitutional provisions or not? And if it does, do you hold him to account?
No, it does not have, and as it's a constitutional infraction, it does not have the, what you call a broad-based power to just do as it like.
Carte blanche.
Carte blanche.
Right.
It does not. The Constitution gives us the power to, of course, send report to him, advise, and counsel.
Right. So
now,
it would be your job to call the attention of the president to such infractions
Exactly.
and to urge him to correct them, even if your call is purely advisory.
Exactly.
Right.
Now, I'll tell you.
Have you done that recently?
Did
Did your commission do it when, I mean, you complained about Buhari's time.
Yes.
Did you do it when Buhari was there?
Yes, well, yes, we did. And the report that was presented to the transition committee in coming in is also here, which shows a number of these lopsidedness. But it is not looked at a fixed time, because governance
It's a continuum.
It's a continuum.
Right.
So if it is, let's take Arise, for instance. You come in here and everybody that's here is from Lagos. You're not going to ask everybody that's from Lagos that's in Arise to go. Your future employment is where you try to correct it.
That's a good
Yes,
point.
and we have what we call character balance index, even in regular employment in ministries, that we subject it to. So if you want to hire 10 people tomorrow, we'll say, look, you can't take anybody from Lagos. You now have to take. And that's what this is all about. And Senator Ndume would have and should have looked at the closer look and say, okay, where are we?
Right.
This is where we are. This is the areas where the president needs, as opposed to just taking some segments or the recent appointments to now try to flame or push some parts of the country against another by saying Southwest. Now, the National Assembly, that is the Senate itself, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, a motion was made on the floor of the Senate to look into federal character principle violation. And the Senate Committee on FCC had been so empowered to do so. We're waiting for them.
Right.
Now, Federal Character Commission itself, which is what is a surprise that Senator Ndume will come here. In the last 4 years, the chairman of that commission is from the North. The secretary is from the North. Now, Senator Ndume, being in the Senate, hadn't said anything about that. It will also surprise you that since inception of federal character, the substantive chairman of that commission had been from the North. Now,
well, you should start tidying your own backyard first, don't you?
So as a senator that have oversight function over federal character, these are some of the issues. Now, there was a report of investigation by House of Reps last year that the report till tomorrow.
Yeah, unfortunately, we haven't got that much time to go into it.
Sure.
But I want to thank you very much
You're
indeed
welcome.
for coming in and for
You're welcome.
presenting your part of the your right of reply quite robustly there.
Thank you.
And backing it up with evidence.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you.
Abdul Wasiu Bawa-Allah is the commissioner representing Lagos in the Federal Character Commission, and of course he's the nominated spokesman for that commission for this particular program tonight. Thank you very much indeed. That's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Join us again tomorrow from me and the entire team here in Abuja. Bye-bye, and thank you for watching.